Okay, hello, welcome. This is the tour that I usually give live and in person, but since you're not live and in person, I'm going to try to do a video tour of these different lighting positions. So we're on the stage of the Floyd L. Sandel Theater and looking toward the back wall of the audience. If you notice, on the back wall above the audience's head, attached to the face of the booth, that is your first lighting position. That is the balcony rail. Balcony rail is always going to be located over at the rear of the audience, whether there's an actual balcony or not. Could be attached to the back wall. On the side of the auditorium, there is on both the right side, the stage right side that is, and the stage left side of the auditorium walls are these little alcoves. Those are the side boom positions. Usually, most always, a boom is going to be characterized by the fact that it is a vertical position, and so the lights that hang off of it have to have those little side arms. We'll talk about those when we get to accessories. So we got the balcony rail and we have the side booms. Now, up above the ceiling, there's this area in the ceiling called the FOH. It has three names that it usually goes by. FOH, which stands for front of house. It is also sometimes called the cove or the cut. All of those are perfectly acceptable terms, and usually, we're going to talk more about this when we get to theory, but usually, ideally, that position is located at a 45-degree angle to the stage and is used for general lighting. General lighting. That's one of the terms on your outline that we're going to distinguish between general and special. So if it's a general, there's the pretty set that's on stage currently. Now, up above the stage, and you're not really going to be able to see it very well until I change positions, but up above the stage, you have all of the hanging stuff. And so one of the hanging items above the stage are pipes that include stage lights. And there is, on our stage, there are three. And those are called electrics. Anytime you add a light, a stage light of any variety, even if it is a chandelier, if that's the only thing hanging on that pipe now becomes an electric. And they are numbered. This one that is the very closest to the audience is number 1, so first electric. And then you go to the middle of the stage, and there's that second row of lights, and you may not be able to see them particularly well, but you can see the bright shining ones there. Those are the second electric. And then I'm going to walk backstage and show you the third electric. And we're going to talk a little bit about some of the features of the third electric. So we go backstage, and this is the third electric. I've already brought it in so that you can kind of see a better close-up view of it, but you have fixtures that are hanging from it. And then each of the electrics, all of the lighting positions really, have a plug strip or a place that we can actually circuit the lights. And you know that each one has a number. Okay, so we've talked about the first several items on your outline. Now I want to, you'll see on your outline that the third electric is most always made up of scoops or far sight fixtures, and we'll talk very specifically about what the different instruments are called later on. But what you're looking at is a far sight fixture, and these are specifically used to, you can't see it, but if there was a white drop hanging here, the pretty colored lights would be able to be projected on it. So that is a far sight fixture. The other thing that I want to show you is this little contraption hanging off of the end of this particular electric is a ladder. Kind of looks like a ladder. It's got little rungs that you can climb on. And its job is to hang a light from these individual rungs. And so those lights would be in the side of the stage, kind of almost off stage, and be pointing onto the stage. That's why we call these positions that are attached to the ends of the electrics, we call those portals, side portals. And in the side portal, you can either choose to light it with a ladder hung from the electric, or if you have a device sitting down on the ground, it would be considered a tree or another type of side boom position. But I don't want you to confuse the term side boom with what's on stage. We're going to call those strictly for the positions that are out in the house. So that is the other thing I was going to mention is the reason that we call them portals is because when the curtains that are hung over the stage, we talk about them more specifically in stagecraft, but the legs and the borders, the legs come down and they are the curtains that mask the side of the stage. And so each place where a leg comes down, it creates an opening onto the stage. And portal is just another fancy name for opening. So you have the one that is closest to the audience, which would be down in this neighborhood, called the first portal, and then the second portal, and the third portal, and so forth. And so if you have a ladder or a boom hanging or placed in each one of those openings, I'm going to pan up here, you can see just the bottom of the ladder on the second electric. So that would be the second portal, side position. The other term that you see on your outline is down light. A down light, and I'm going to show you this one, is pretty much exactly what it says that it is. You've hung a fixture and its job is to point straight down. It can be a type of special. And what a special means is that it is just a stage light that is doing a very specific purpose. So for instance, if we hung this down light, it would create a circular pool of light that would be very useful for putting a narrator in or something like that. And so it's doing a special piece of work, not operating really with any other lights. And so that's the difference between a special and a general. General, we use the term wash. A wash is a broad spread of light. Usually it's made up of 2 or 3 or 4 different lights all doing the same things. And so we would call these hanging on the third electric. I don't know if you can see the color differences very well, but there is green and blue and red coming off of each one of these. And so those colors would create the different colors of washes. And so if we walk a little bit down stage and we show you the lights hanging from the first electric, then you can see there's 2 of them side by side, and the pattern is kind of repeated as you go across. Those would be part of a hot wash, which means all your warmed colored lights, amber, pink, red, yellow, and your cool colored washes, which are made up of your blues and your greens and your purples. So that's the difference between a wash and a downlight. Now the next thing on your outline, and I'm going to pan down to the floor here, is you can see there is a farsight fixture sitting on the floor, and it is also pointing at what would be the backdrop against the back wall. That is the ground row. So anytime you have a set of lights that are sitting on the ground all the way up stage, that is a ground row on the floor all the way up stage. And what its purpose is 2 things. There's going to be a place on the backdrop at which these lights will start to fade away. We call that's a big fancy term that is a gradient. So it's going to be brighter at the top, and then eventually it's going to get dimmer and go out to nothing and not be good light anymore. So the purpose of the ground row is it can pick up that same color from the bottom and offer a more saturated color. The other thing that it can do, and the way that I usually like to use them, is you can create sunrise and sunset type effects with your lighting. So let's say you have the top lights all lit with blue, and then down in the ground row, maybe in the middle, it's a little bit more pink, a little bit more amber, and it might look like the sun setting or the sun rising. And so it's just a nice way to get a little bit of contrasting colors or something that's kind of harmonizing a little bit. And then the next term that I want to talk to you about is, you see that word special. So let's go back to our downlight. Downlight is doing a specific job, and it is not operating with any other. So anytime you have a light that is doing a specific job, it is a special. You could stick different patterns in these lights, like leaves or trees or clouds, and they would be doing a special purpose of only shining that pattern out. So that is what we mean by the term special. Now, the other 2 things on your list are really easy to understand, and we're going to talk about them in greater detail as we move forward. But the terms are focus and area. So I'm going to use our downlight special here. A focus is any time you make any adjustment to the fixture itself. So if you make it tip forward or backwards, or if you turn it from side to side, or if you adjust any of the knobs or settings, change the color, That is focus. You have focused the picture. So it is not to be confused like with a camera where you're trying to bring something into clear focus. We're talking about the adjustment that you make to a fixture. It could be anything. The direction it's pointing, the shape, the pattern, the color, all of that is you're adjusting the focus. And the last term is areas. We're going to spend a whole lesson doing nothing but talking about areas, but it's very easy to understand if you look at the PowerPoint on theater spaces. One of the first slides is dividing the area of the stage up into different acting areas. So let me just quickly walk back on stage again. And so the lighting areas are similar to the acting areas, but in the lighting world, we don't call them downstage left, downstage center. What we do is we use numbers. So downstage left might become acting area 1 and acting area 2 and so forth.